A very warm welcome to each and every one of you at TechWari 2.0. I am Aditi Dhanavde, and it is my pleasure to be your host for this technical session on digital governance in a changing world. On behalf of General Administration Department, I extend a heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, and all our officers who have made time to be here today. This session brings together some of the sharpest minds in governance, technology, and public administration to ensure Maharashtra stays firmly in the present and honestly a little bit in the future too. To formally open this session and set the tone for the conversations ahead, I now request a person whose leadership in the IT and AI space is central to Maharashtra's digital journey, Secretary Electronics, IT and AI, Shri Virendra Singh, to deliver the welcome address.
Distinguished speakers for today's session, dear colleagues present here and those who have joined online, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the first technology session on the electronics, information technology, and artificial intelligence. It is an honor to address this esteemed gathering to reflect on a subject that is fundamental and foundational to the future of governance, digital governance in a changing world. We are living through a period of profound and exponential transformation. Technology is no longer a supporting tool for governance. It is reshaping the very architecture of how governments think, act, and engage with citizens. Emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, blockchain, quantum computing, and data analytics are not just influencing administrative efficiency, they are redefining accountability, transparency, and citizen expectations. In this evolving landscape, governance must move from being reactive to proactive to anticipatory. Citizens today expect services that are seamless, personalized, and available on demand. They compare public services not with other government departments, but with the best digital experiences offered anywhere across the globe. This shift compels us as administrators and policymakers to rethink service delivery models, regulatory frameworks, and institutional capacities. Digital governance, gentlemen, is not merely about digitization of existing processes. It is about reimagining governance itself. It demands that we break silos, integrate platforms, and create ecosystems where data flows securely and meaningfully across the departments. It requires us to place the citizen at the center, ensuring that technology enhances inclusion rather than deepening digital divide. At the same time, this transformation brings new responsibilities. Issues of data privacy, cybersecurity, ethical use of technology, and digital sovereignty are now central to every system of governance. Trust also becomes the cornerstone of our governance. Without trust, even the most sophisticated digital systems will fail to deliver their intended outcomes and results. Therefore, our approach must balance innovation with safeguards and agility with accountability. Another critical dimension is capacity building. Technology evolves rapidly, but institutions often move slowly. Bridging this gap requires continuous capacity building, training, upscaling of our workforce, and fostering a culture that embraces change rather than resisting it. Leadership in digital governance is not only about adopting technology, but about driving mindset transformation across all levels of administration. And that is what we aim to drive through these sessions. We must also recognize the importance of collaborations. Governments alone cannot navigate this complex terrain. Partnership with the private sector, academia, startups, and civil society are essential to co-create solutions that are scalable, sustainable, and inclusive. Today, our distinguished speakers will guide us on all of these issues, challenges, and opportunities that lie ahead. We have Dr. Vivek Raghavan, co-founder Sarvam AI, to speak on the sovereign AI systems. Head of our State Police Force DGP, Shri Sadanand Date, will guide us on changing security paradigm in the evolving digital era. Chairperson Capacity Building Commission, Srimati Radha Chauhan, will speak on the training and capacity building aspects of governance in the times that are new to each one of us and are challenging as well. Former CEO Niti Aayog, Shri Amitabh Kant, will take this discussion to new levels with his deep knowledge and insights into a galaxy of issues. And then we have Chief Secretary of Maharashtra, Shri Rajesh Agarwal, who is a well-known personality in the technology sector, to enlighten us. I urge all of you to take full advantage of this session, for it is really rare to have such luminaries and personalities speaking from the same podium and guiding us on future of governance in a changing world. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.
Thank you so much, sir. We now move to the addresses by our distinguished speakers. Each of them brings a unique lens to digital governance, from frontier AI to law enforcement to administrative reform and national policy. Our first speaker has co-founded Sarvam AI, one of India's most significant homegrown AI ventures, and has championed the idea of building AI that speaks India's languages and understands India's context. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vivek Raghavan, co-founder Sarvam AI.
So first of all, can we put my Yeah. Thank you so much for actually inviting me and letting me be part of this. And today I hope to actually talk a little bit about how to leverage, sovereign AI systems for digital governance. And I will intend to do two things in my remarks today. The first thing is I want to kind of first help define what is sovereign AI and why do we need sovereign AI. That's one question that's very important that we need to be able to define. And then I will walk through certain kinds of use cases of how we can reimagine governance through the use of AI. And I think those are the two things that I'd like to focus on today. The first thing that I want to say is that, I've had the opportunity really to be part of India's digital public infrastructure over the past decade. And I think one of the most important things about it, whether it was Aadhaar or whether it is UPI or whether it is, we've actually built sovereign systems that we can be proud of. And I think these sovereign systems have actually made a significant impact on where the country is today. And it is important that these are sovereign systems. We did not use some technology provider to build these systems. We built these systems ourselves. That's a very important thing. And I think most of you will agree, right? Most of you will agree that AI really is in some sense, has maybe potential of having even a greater impact on governance, a greater impact on citizens and things like that. And so therefore we should not run after AI is such that every 2 weeks some new model is coming, some new exciting thing is happening. And then it is very easy to say that let's use that because sometimes it is useful. It actually helps you do things. But in the long run, in the long arc, it is very important that if you don't build these capacities yourself, you will become a digital colony. And I think that's something very, very important to understand, that you have to therefore balance the capabilities with the ability to do these things in a sovereign manner. And so therefore I think, and in the long run, I think sovereignty will become much more important than actually the temporary technical leads that we are talking about. And so therefore I think that there is a mandate to build, and we have to build sovereign AI, and we have to build sovereign AI as a digital public good. And I think the interesting thing is, today if you look at the world, right, there are definitely going to be two AI powers. It's very clear. The United States is going to be an AI power, and China is going to be an AI power. It is not clear that any other nation will actually be an AI power. And the technology that I can actually see that is most, I think, similar to AI is actually nuclear technology, right? There are nuclear haves and there are nuclear have-nots. And I think that that is where the world is going to go. So therefore, in a country like India, we have to aim to be an AI have. We have to become an AI power. And therefore, we can build and we must build. And I think that's the thing that we should have the confidence as a country that we can build and we can actually do things that make it. I mean, you take an example of China, for example. I think, and we are not China, we are different than China. But if you see, China has created a situation where, whether you talk about OpenAI or whether you talk about Anthropic or whether you talk about Gemini, these are not available there. But yet they are able to do things, right? That's something that is important. And even if we are not a country where we prevent these things from happening, we must make sure that we have sovereign alternatives for these kinds of things. And I think one of the things that people look at it, right? I mean, for example, I hear a lot of people saying with great pride that, we are the largest users of ChatGPT. Now, what does that mean, using ChatGPT? Using ChatGPT is actually you're exporting your data and you're importing intelligence. And I think we need to think, and I think that we don't need to look too far into our history when we were exporting cotton and importing cloth, right? That it is really literally that kind of thing. And you are actually giving up your independence and your sovereignty when you do these kinds of things. So it is important to remember that what is the stakes and really how important this can be, especially if you believe that AI is going to impact every process, everything we do, in the country. And I think that, we can do this. So we can actually build great AI models. And I think that, while we are at the very beginning of this journey, I do believe that we have the ability to actually do this because we have certain unique advantages. One advantage is India is a huge market. Okay, there is really, we have 1 billion people, and we can use AI to actually, and I think one way to look at it this way is that, how many, I mean, and maybe a token is a kind of is an abstract way of thinking about it, but how many tokens are actually we using of AI per citizen in the country? And that's something that, we have that huge demand that is there in the country, and if we actually do that, that's one. The second thing, our economics are different. Our economics are different. We are obviously always been a cost-sensitive country. We need to do things much more efficiently, and that's another advantage and difference that we have as compared to the first world. And I think the third thing which we have is we have incredible diversity, right? We have 22 official languages. In every, even within any language, there are so many dialects. And actually to be able to do that thing with diversity requires a different mindset. So if we think of these things, that we look at India as a market, we look at diversity and we look at diversity and costs as important drivers, we can come up with different solutions which work for India and maybe work for the other 5 billion people in the world. And that's really the kind of things that are unique advantage to, that's our right to win in a system like this. And I think in the end, right, I mean, I think, even though when we are looking at AI, we are looking at, people are talking about crazy amounts of money being invested and things like that. And I think that, and some of these numbers are even difficult to fathom what those things are. But I think the intent is that we need to get to a place where all our citizens are able to leverage AI to make their lives better. I mean, I think I take, this thing from UPI. Using UPI for the first time, we say something is better in our country than in other countries in the world. But I think if you leverage AI, you can actually be to a place where every citizen can actually make their lives simpler because using AI. And I think that's really the thing that, and whether it is a government service or whether it is in the private sector, really to be able to basically empower citizens to do things, and that is really the reason why. So I think the government of Maharashtra is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply honored and truly delighted to have a very distinguished presence who has just joined us in the room. We warmly welcome our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Devendra Fadnavis Sir. Your presence here is a powerful affirmation of Maharashtra's commitment to digital governance and technology-led public administration. We also warmly welcome Honorable Deputy CM, Srimati Sunetra Pawar Ma'am. So you may continue, please.
Yes. So I think that actually, where I was actually talking that actually government of Maharashtra has actually taken the lead in sovereign AI, and I think it's very interesting that one of the things about AI is extremely expensive when the volumes are low, but extremely cheap when the volumes are large. So it's important to have that aggregation and that ability to actually do this at a large scale. Then actually you can do something very large which has a significant impact on the people for a very small amount, right? I think Maharashtra has actually invested 10,000 crores. They have a target of 10,000 crores. But too interestingly that if I look at every citizen of Maharashtra, that is only 15 rupees per month. That is like a vada pav, right? So for every month. So that is really, and the impact of that kind of thing is something that is very, very significant. I think I really congratulate Maharashtra on actually taking this lead and saying that we need to do this in this way. But I think the impact, the return on investment in AI is actually dramatically greater than other things that we can do if you aim to do it at scale. If you say, I'm doing a small POC here, I'm doing that, you will not see the difference. You have to think that this is going to transform government and we have to do it in a big way. So I think, I now actually moving to, a little bit about India's full stack sovereign AI platform. I had talked earlier, sir, about why sovereign AI is important, because if we don't do this, we will become a digital colony and we have to do this. And the point is that I want to also show that we have made a great beginning in being able to do this. And we have now, we have made a beginning to do this, and this is something that we. So I think a little bit about Sarvam. Sarvam has actually been leading the way, and thanks to the India AI mission and other things, we have been actually building models from scratch and actually building them as a world-class things. And this is something that, but at the same time, we are at the very beginning of this journey. And I think, let us not make any mistake, countries like United States and China are actually far ahead of us. But I think that because we have a huge market and huge ability, if we provide AI to all our citizens, then we will actually create the ability for us to also become an AI power in the world. So I think that when you look, one of the things that is important to think about when you think about AI is actually you need to think of it as a full stack kind of thing. The first thing is models. Everybody has heard about large language models and things like that. It's important to build those models in India. Then the next thing is that the models themselves actually give only limited value. How you actually use those models in applications, and how do I transform every business process, every citizen contact through AI, and that is something that is important. And finally, to be able to run this on infrastructure, and that is something, to be able to run this on infrastructure that is at India scale. That is the third thing that is important. If you don't have those three things, you actually can't have an AI strategy that makes sense. And actually, if you look at the way Maharashtra has been looking at it, I think they're thinking about it in the right way. So I think that, sir, I think as a company, we actually were created to do two kinds of things. The first kind of thing was to actually look at all of these layers, whether it's infrastructure or whether it's models or whether it's applications, and build platforms that make it possible. And I think that platformization is also something that is very important. At the infrastructure layer, I think people talk in terms of a token factory, which is basically how do I actually serve AI tokens at the lowest cost at the largest scale. And of course, that in addition to that, we believe that many of these models may not even run at data centers. They may run on the mobiles of the people. They may run on the edge. How do we build solutions that work on the edge? And the third thing, sir, today we are, the mobile phone is, and maybe for the next few years, be the primary interface through which people experience AI. But I think that with AI and with voice, the interface has a chance of changing. And how people interact with AI is actually, there will be new kinds of devices that will come up to do those things. The second layer, sir, is the model layer. And in model layer, sir, we believe that voice is the most important thing. And we believe that we want to have the state-of-the-art capability or in terms of voice in all Indian languages, whether it is understanding voice or whether it is voice synthesis. This is something that we want to do. The other part, sir, we have so many documents. And I think document intelligence, right? Understanding documents that are handwritten, that are in different languages, and doing that at world class is something we think is important. And then finally, we are building these LLMs. These LLMs we have built are also world class. So at their size, they are as good as any other model in the world. Of course, many of the models are much bigger than us. We are not trying to say that we are as good as the latest, Anthropic model. But it is the point that we have shown for the size of model we have built. We are not just in Indian languages, in all capabilities, we are at best in the world. For example, our model actually got a perfect score in JEE, okay? As an example, of course, at the top layer, you have applications. You have applications. And one of the big important applications is our conversational platform and how citizens communicate with government or with businesses. That's one of the key things to think about. And then finally, so we also have an agent orchestration system, which actually helps to change workflows and makes these things that you can actually reimagine how every process in government happens can actually change. And finally, we are talking about content. And content is something that we want to make sure that all content is available in all languages to people. And that is something that we are important. We think that content, and whether it is, somebody from a YouTube influencer to all the way to how, government or educational information becomes available, all of those things come in terms of content. And coming back to the point of sovereignty, all these things are built from scratch. That's the most important thing, they're built from scratch. There is no data dependency on anybody. Okay. And no data dependency, and we also have state-of-the-art models in terms of. Okay. Now we talk, sir, I'm now going to move to the second part of my presentation, where we are going to show certain examples of how AI can actually be transformed using, AI can actually help transform governance. And I will go through a series of examples of real things that we have been working on to do these kinds of things. So, sir, this is actually an appointment for booking a hospital.
कॅपिटल हॉस्पिटलला कॉल केल्याबद्दल धन्यवाद. आज मी तुमची कशी मदत करू शकते?
मॅडम, मला हे विचारायचं होतं, हॉस्पिटल किती वाजेपर्यंत उघडं आहे?
कॅपिटल हॉस्पिटल 24 तास उघडं असतं, पण तुम्हाला कोणत्या स्पेसिफिक डिपार्टमेंट बद्दल माहिती हवी आहे का?
मॅडम, मी जिन्यावरून पडलोय. मला वाटतं मला फ्रॅक्चर झालंय.
ओ, मला हे ऐकून खूप वाईट वाटलं. काळजी करू नका, आम्ही तुम्हाला नक्की मदत करू. तुम्हाला ऑर्थोपेडिक्स डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये अपॉइंटमेंट घ्यायची आहे का?
हो मॅडम.
ठीक आहे. अपॉइंटमेंट बुक करण्यासाठी मला तुमचं नाव आणि वय सांगू शकाल का?
मॅडम, माझं नाव प्रणव कोटी आहे आणि माझं वय 23 आहे.
धन्यवाद प्रणव. ऑर्थोपेडिक्स डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये आमच्याकडे डॉक्टर शंकर श्रीधर आणि डॉक्टर मालती टी हे 2 अनुभवी डॉक्टर आहेत. डॉक्टर शंकर श्रीधर यांना 15 वर्षांचा अनुभव आहे.
So I will stop here, sir. But this is an example of an AI call that is happening live today. In fact, our system does millions of AI calls every day. For example, we actually reached out in the last month, over 10 days, to 2 crore farmers across the country in different states to actually find out the accuracy of the digital crop survey. And we found that, anywhere from 5 to 10% errors in the digital crop survey through individually calling 2 crore farmers over a period of 10 days. Now, this is something simply not possible before these kinds of systems. In fact, local governments have also been using these kinds of systems. We have seen that various municipal corporations have actually significantly increased their collection of property taxes through calls where people have done this. And in fact, and it is also interesting, is also able to negotiate and be sympathetic and actually help increase the collections of property taxes. In various other phases, so we have now built these kinds of systems that can actually translate books completely while retaining formatting. In fact, we are translating every NCERT book into all the 22 languages using our technologies. On other things, we are also working with various people to actually evaluate answer scripts. So where handwritten answers are given with different languages, and people can actually not just extract the answer and from the rubric decide, automatically grade these kinds of answer scripts. We have the ability also to do various kinds of vision tasks, where you are actually looking at a vision task and you are actually coming out with basically output that is digital, natively digital, that comes out of it, right? So you can actually use this to do various kinds of tasks. So this is, of course, one of the things we want to do is to actually dub content across languages. So we'll just play this.
कर्मचारी भरतीच्या संदर्भात मी मागे देखील सांगितलं 1,20,000 भरती आपण पूर्ण केली आहे. एकाही भरतीमध्ये कुठलीही तक्रार आलेली नाही, कुठलाही घोटाळा झालेला नाही. आता पुढच्या कर्मचारी भर्ती के संदर्भ में मैंने पहले बताया है, हमने 1,20,000 भर्तियां पूरी की हैं. किसी भी भर्ती में कोई भी शिकायत नहीं आई है, किसी भी प्रकार का घोटाला नहीं हुआ है. अब अगले चरण में रिगार्डिंग एम्प्लॉय रिक्रूटमेंट, आई हैव मेंशन्ड दिस बिफोर, we have completed 1,20,000 recruitments and not a single complaint has been received in any of them. There has been no scams. Now in the next...
So, sir, then of course one of the... So the other thing, sir, we are doing is we are actually working in digitization of old manuscripts and books and things like that. That is something here. This is actually some early 19th century Gujarati books, where actually we are absolutely world class in all Indian languages. We are in Malayalam, in many languages, we have actually shown that we are the best in the world in digitizing some of these old documents. From a cultural perspective, older things, putting them together is something that is very important. And of course, there are many applications to these capabilities. Like today, we have so many forms which are part printed, part handwritten, and you have to actually kind of digitize them with high accuracy. These are kinds of things that we can do with our technologies. This is an example of where we are actually having a question and answer on Maharashtra service rules. So they just upload a document.
रिटायरमेंटच्या वेळी रजेचे पैसे कसे मोजले जातात आणि जास्तीत जास्त किती दिवसाचे पैसे मिळतात?
So the answer comes, sir. The important thing, sir, is that this is, you just uploaded the document and you want to ask, the document is in English, you are able to ask a question in Marathi and it answers to your requirements of what you want to do, sir. Of course, it works in all Indian languages. Some people may want to ask questions in English, so therefore that is also something that we can do, sir. So this kind of thing, the ability to actually take any document, ask questions of it, build presentations, all these kinds of things are capabilities that we can do, sir. Second thing, sir, we also have one of the things that we do have, and we have the the Indus app by Sarvam, and that is something that that we use. So I just wanted to show some examples of how.
उद्या सावित्रीबाई फुले जयंती आहे आणि मला शाळेत 2 मिनिटाचं भाषण द्यायचंय. त्या भाषणात त्यांनी मुलींच्या शिक्षणासाठी काय केलं आणि आजच्या मुलांसाठी त्यांचा काय संदेश आहे हे यायला हवं.
आदरणीय शिक्षक बंधू भगिनी आणि माझ्या प्रिय मित्रांनो, आज आपण सावित्रीबाई फुले यांची जयंती साजरी करत आहोत. त्या केवळ एक शिक्षिका नव्हत्या, तर त्या एक क्रांतिकार, समाजसुधारक आणि भारतीय स्त्री शिक्षणाच्या खऱ्या शिल्पकार होत्या. त्यांनी मुलींच्या शिक्षणासाठी काय केले?
So that gives you an example of kinds of things that we can do with our things today, and I think that if we get an opportunity, we can actually do many, many more things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Raghavan. That was quite insightful. Our next speaker leads one of the largest police forces in the country. He brings to this conversation a perspective that reminds us that digital governance is not only about convenience, it is absolutely about safety, security, and accountability. I am honored to invite the Director General of Police, Maharashtra, Shri Sadanand Date sir, to address us.
सभागृहात उपस्थित सन्माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय, सन्माननीय उपमुख्यमंत्री महोदया, श्री अमिताभ कांत, श्रीमती राधा चौहान, मुख्य सचिव महोदय, श्री विवेक राघवन, उपस्थित सर्व वरिष्ठ अधिकारी, अगदी सुरुवातीलाच या अत्यंत अभिनव अशा उपक्रमाबद्दल आणि त्यात मला बोलवल्याबद्दल मी श्रीमती व्ही राधा यांचे आभार मानतो. हा एक युनिक कॉन्फ्लुअन्स आहे. कन्व्हेन्शनल आणि मॉडर्न असा एकत्र टेक वारी असा आपण कॉन्फ्लुअन्स इथे करायचा, संगम करायचा प्रयत्न करतो आहे. म्हणजे आपल्या संस्कृतीचं जे मूळ आहे किंवा आपल्या गव्हर्नन्सचं जे मूळ आहे ते आपण कायम ठेवून नवीन येणारे बदल आत्मसात करून अधिक एफिशियंट कसं होता येईल ते शोधण्याचा या वारीमध्ये 5 दिवस आपण प्रयत्न करणार आहोत. आज मला इथे बोलायला सांगितलं आहे तर मला कल्पना आहे मी विशेषज्ञ किंवा एक्सपर्ट म्हणून इथे बोलत नाही आहे. ते एक प्रॅक्टिशनर किंवा ज्याच्या आसपास टेक्नॉलॉजीमुळे भरपूर बदल होत आहेत, तो टेक्नॉलॉजीची मदत घेऊन आपलं काम अधिक चांगलं कसं करू शकतो याच्याबद्दल मला बोलायचं आहे. हे बोलत असताना मला याची कल्पना आहे की मी एक पोलीस अधिकारी म्हणून आणि लॉ एन्फोर्समेंट प्रोफेशनल म्हणून बोलणार आहे. I would shift to English because there are some officers who have come from outside. So essentially I'm going to represent how we in police look at the changes and how digital governance can be brought about in police force. So the task that we do straddles from what a beat constable does, or what a 112 response does, or what my constable when he meets someone as a complainant in police station does, to someone who is responding as Force 1 commando to emerging terrorist attack, to functions on border where national security functions and boundary functions are carried out, to national security investigations including terror crimes. So this entire spectrum of national security management as done by police is in throw of great change, and how do we really adopt technology so we deliver on governance is the challenge before us. To make things simple, let me bring a concrete thing that has happened in Maharashtra and also put forth that all the good work that we do, unfortunately we are not able to showcase it. And the example is 112. 112 is emergency response system that was introduced in Maharashtra in the year 2021 September. So I'll just provide statistics. In the year 2021 we had 1,55,000 calls and our average response time was 48 minutes 11 seconds. I was a unit commander and I had volunteered for taking up this as a pilot scheme, and in Mira Bhayandar Commissionerate our response time was 36 minutes. From there on, I will not bore with the data, but from there on the state response time went on declining from 48 minutes in 21 to 22 minutes in 22 to 13 minutes in 23 to 9 minutes 51 seconds in 24. There was a slight increase which bucked the trend. In 2025, this response time went to 10 minutes 22 seconds, and in first 4 months of 2026, it has come down to 8 minutes 54 seconds. Now, what does this call time consist of? It consists of time taken by call taker to understand the grievance, which can be given by any citizen anywhere from in the state. So that typically takes about 3 to 3.5 minutes. Then she transfers that call to the dispatcher in a system which is digitally enabled system. and that dispatcher has visibility of where the location of the complainant is and where my responders are, and he matches the call with the nearest responder. So he takes some time to match the call, and then C is the responder time. Wherever the responder is, he goes from there to the place where the citizen has called. So just imagine, from 48 minutes in 2021, we have come down to 8 minutes 19 seconds in the month of April as of now. And the number of calls that have increased from 1,55,000 in the year 2021 to 19,31,000 calls in 2025. And in the first 4 months, so it's an increasing trend. In first 4 months, we have handled about 8,48,000 calls. Now, this is a very simple system of how digital transformation comes. Earlier, the complaint was when police calls, when call is given to 100 was a distributed call taking facility across the districts. So phone calls are not picked up. The person does not listen to. When he tells, the response time is more than an hour. Now from there, if we have come to a response time of under 10 minutes, and let me also tell you how the best units in the state have responded. So the best unit was Mira Bhainder in 2021. Its response time was 36 minutes. That has gone down to 13 minutes, 8 minutes 17 seconds, 6 minutes 21 seconds. All these were Mira Bhainder. Then some other units have taken over. So in the year 2025, Raigad was the best unit with 5 minutes 43 seconds response time in Raigad jurisdiction. Now, mind you, Raigad is having a hilly terrain and also coastal roads, so it's not exactly easy. And in Pimpri-Chinchwad this year, in first 4 months, the response time is 5 minutes 26 seconds. We believe that with technology, we can assure to people anywhere in Maharashtra a response time, including their time taken to convey the grievance, of less than 7 minutes. I think this has been possible only because of digital technology. But I believe as a police officer that I have not really been able to take it to people and tell that, look, we have gone from 60 minutes to 7 minutes. I think this is one big challenge that we have, that while we use the technology and also generate good results, we are not able to really create a constituency for those good results. So with that, I would like to also highlight some other areas where technology has transformed the way policing is done. Now, one area is CCTV cameras. All of us know that there is a significant investment of government in CCTV cameras, but probably 20x is the investment of private people in CCTV cameras. And as a result, what we see in South Mumbai, where we are seeing, when I was Joint CP Law and Order 15 years ago, chain snatching was a very serious issue. And if you ask today, chain snatchings, robberies and street crime has virtually been wiped out by presence of CCTV cameras. Now this is the power of technology. So CCTV is one example. I very distinctly remember a case of a jeweller's murder in Nala Sopara, and the accused went from there. They came to a construction site in Malabar Hill. No less than 700 CCTV cameras had mapped from bound to bound how the person has traveled. That CCTV cameras is the future, where government is planning to bring all these private and public CCTV cameras on one single platform, where on demand security agencies can get access to that camera feed, is something which is going to revolutionize how we are dealing with crime and petty law and order problems. The other thing that is working very well is our CCTNS and e-court system. As this is a personal knowledge, I was JS e-courts in Ministry of Law and Justice. The open source programming that has been done by NIC and the create of e-courts, and similar is CCTNS that has been created by our technologists, is in huge demand all over world. In fact, if we can create it as a product and deliver, there is demand in 2019, there was demand from more than 40 countries, because we can provide this service at a very insignificant cost. I mean, it would be like 1/10 of cost that any private sector solution provider will provide. Now, while technology brings all these huge benefits and opportunities, there are multiple areas, but I would like to present two areas where probably we are finding ourselves inadequate. Number one area is cyber crimes. And cyber crimes is typically facing problems because of multiple ecosystem problems. Now, one is mule accounts in Indian banking system. Now, we have few million and more mule accounts which are readily available to take away or filter out or give a cover for fraudulent amount. The second is huge amount of SIM cards which are purchased on fraudulent KYC. Now that creates an opportunity for transferring funds from account to account. Third is the problem of cryptocurrency. Now cryptocurrency has virtually taken out our foreign exchange control across the jurisdictions. So taking out money from which has been defrauded from, let us say, Pune, Mumbai or Dharashiv to Rajasthan, where the handler or aggregator is, to Dubai, can happen in less than an hour. So our golden hour actually has to be golden minutes and not hours. So as a result, and offshore compounds which are providing fraud as a service, now all these have created a ecosystem which has provided huge challenge in terms of our crime investigations. The other problem, which is probably not well understood or appreciated across, is the issue of hybrid or grey zone warfare. Now, again, the same ecosystem of crypto, VPNs and drones. Now, if you see the Punjab border in 1970s, 80s and 90s, we had serious problem of cross-border terrorism. Therefore, we created a physical boundary wall across Punjab, Rajasthan and parts of Jammu. Now, with drone technology, what has happened is this wall has become of limited relevance, because there are multiple and few dozen sorties every day which take place from Punjab in Pakistan to Punjab in India. And these are mixed consignments. So what they are carrying is they are carrying drugs and they are carrying arms and ammunition. Arms, ammunition and explosives. So arms, ammunition, explosives is to be given to the targeted recipient, and drugs is the reward money that Pakistan is giving to the person who is handing over this. Now, this is a very crude example of how hybrid warfare can be organized. But there are sophisticated examples where now, for influencing a particular media channel or creating a particular narrative, you don't have to have a handler in India. He can very well operate from foreign jurisdiction, or he can operate from within India, but through VPN he can reach out to the target and he can transfer money through cryptocurrency without leaving any trail. So if an inimical country is operating from within India and creating security issues, getting to them is becoming increasingly difficult because of the facilitation that is being done by emerging technology. We also very well know that the cells, which is the basic distributed solution that terrorists have found out to deny breaking the networks. So the cellular structure can be very easily guided on social media platforms while keeping anonymity and continuing to give mandate, resources and agenda, which is what we saw in Rameshwaram Cafe Blast case. The handlers sitting in Pakistan transferred money through cryptocurrency to the people who were using SIM cards, and they straddled over 7 states before they were arrested in West Bengal for the crime that they did of creating an explosion in Rameshwaram at behest of a terrorist group, which is of course working at behest of suspectedly ISI. So these two areas are representative examples of how difficult the changing times have become to protect assets, to protect people, to protect information, to protect government and to protect the whole process of governance. Now, having presented the opportunities as well as key concerns, I would like to go back to look at it, as I said, as on the consumer side of technology. So to me, there are 3 key components of governance, and there is equivalent of that in digital space. Citizens, field level administration which is delivering the citizen services, and policy level decision making which happens in executive, which gives resources and mandate. Now there is a very clear pattern. Citizens want, and they are dependent on field level functionaries, who in turn are dependent on policy level decision makers, who in turn are dependent on citizens for getting their policy mandates and resources. Now, how do we make this loop a beneficial loop a loop that reinforces positive content is a challenge. And here the example of 112 that I gave is what citizens want is a quick response when they are in emergency, and field level functionaries are able to do it because policymakers have given us resources in terms of 112 infrastructure, which can be presented as something that is valuable to citizens. Now coming to the issues that I would like to flag here in terms of these three main areas is what Secretary IT very specifically mentioned is a huge change that is happening in minds of people, and also huge change that is being faced by field level functionaries. Now how do we make this change legible, acceptable, and okay for those who are going to deliver the services? How do we make them feel that they are not threatened, their position is not threatened, in fact they are being enabled? So I think that handling the change management aspect is one thing, and in that what we are doing in police department is creating a program of cyber hygiene. If each of the 230,000 constable knows that there is a threat as well as opportunity in his mobile phone, and what is the responsible way in which he can use his mobile phone, I think he can also then thereafter create this message of cyber hygiene to the 13 or 14 crore people to whom he serves. The second point that I would like to flag is, while technology can bring in a lot of efficiency and efficacy gains, it will not be providing challenge to issues of integrity and fairness. And for that, our design has to have this in mind, that you should not create issues of integrity or fairness, because that would be undercutting the very process of governance. The third issue that we are going to face more increasingly, and CS sir had organized interaction on data privacy, and thereafter all of us are sufficiently scared, is the issue of privacy and surveillance. So how do we keep surveillance which is effective without affecting the privacy rights of citizens is going to be a very important issue. And how do we ensure that those who are accountable are made aware about their rights and their limitations, and that they don't fall on the wrong side of the law. The fourth thing is normally cited as a problem that our data resides in silos, but to me it is actually the lowest hanging fruit that we have, because if our databases already are in soft format, it's just the connection that we have to provide. And I would like to present here a small initiative that was done at behest of Honorable Home Minister by NIA. In December, NIA launched National Lost and Recovered Firearm Database. So ordnance grade firearms are the most difficult challenge that we face when we come across the bad actors. Now, and there was no database that existed in India which kept account of how many weapons have been lost and how many weapons have been recovered, and then tracing the weapons. Now since December, we have found about 7,459 exact weapons that have been lost. Probably we will have another 12,000-13,000 weapons. We believe that about 20,000 weapons have been snatched or stolen, which are ordnance grade weapons in India since independence. Out of these, 5,272 have already been recovered. And from those, out of those, about 753 have been specifically identified with the police station from where the weapons have been lost. Now this was not known. So 753 weapons of say Gadchiroli or many other police stations recovered and sitting in other police stations have now been mapped, and they would form a very important evidence. So data in silos, to my mind, is actually lowest hanging fruit that exists as an opportunity, although it also is a red flag. Now last point is, and I'm aware that the topmost decision makers are present here, and I am at the receiving end of technology, I am also at the receiving end of budgets and funds. So we have a very conservative, rigid structure that comes as a governance structure. So if I'm a trained accountant, so how we do the budget exercise is a very rigid structure, whereas our demands and our requirements are very fluid and dynamic. So how do we make this procurement and provisioning cycle, which is in alignment with what is happening in technology field, is I think a great challenge in front of us. I would like to present here what we are doing in police to make best of the technology available and how we are introducing various mitigating measures before I end. So I think one of the very important initiatives that Maharashtra Police had taken was MPI E-Academy program. So we have about 600 hours of training that is available online, and in many ways, Radhaji is sitting here. The Maharashtra E-Academy program is a forerunner of what has got as IGOT program in Government of India. So we have taken this early lead, and we are also now registered in large numbers on IGOT platform. And recently we have taken a decision. So generally the e-learning is they're available on platform and individual is doing it. But there is a limitation of technology, and there is also not very efficient use of time. So we run refresher training courses in all police districts. So we run about 1 week of refresher training course, and I have requested Mr. Naval Bajaj to prepare a 4-hour training program that can be walked through by the resource personnel. People would also have their smartphones, but they would also have a screen where the best lecture in, let us say, cyber crime evolving trends is being given, which is heard by 30 people. Now there can be peer learning that will happen, which is not possible presently when he is connecting individually to the platform. But a curated session, if we can create, and that is where we are working, will help us take this in much more effective fashion and also remove the doubts, difficulties that are in the minds of individuals by making handholding. The second thing that we are doing, and we have our ADG PCIT is here, is crime is our core function. How do we use AI in our crime investigations, and how do we make it available to the head constable who is starting with his first FIR and then plan of action and prioritizing his investigation time? So with help of Marvel and a private sector firm in Navi Mumbai, we believe we have created a kind of foundational small language model, which will be our own model, which can be available to all the investigating officers who do about 3 lakh investigations a year, and those investigations can be wrapped up and they can be guided by the current legal as well as precedents that have been set by constitutional courts. Third thing is an idea that I am presenting, and we are in some ways working, is what 112 and any typical digital model will try to do is it will do resource mapping and it will do efficient resource matching. Now, for police department, our resources are, for example, language. Now, when we are working in a remote area of Gadchiroli, we need someone who understands that particular language, and that is also true for many other dialects which are there. So, if we have a resource mapping of all language, culture, investigation, law and order, so all the expertise that we have, so if we do the resource mapping and we have that as a database and we have that as a informational backbone available, I think our investigations would be benefited. For example, ballistics is a very specialized part of investigations, and we need not have more than 3, 4, 5 or 6 officers because we don't have those many cases. So not everyone has to really learn ballistics, but if we have that resource mapping done, probably our investigations would be more effective and efficient. I think one challenge, and Mr. Vijay Raghavan had a solution for that in his presentation, is how do we create a forum where citizens can put their grievances but also can contribute to the challenges that are there in governance. So for us it could be information, for us it could be leads, for us it could be that important CCTV feed, for us it could be general background intelligence of the area, so on and so forth. So if we can create, we had this Mohalla committee or peace committee to bring people together to keep peace. Now how can we bring all stakeholders on a platform where they can contribute and we pick up those inputs and work on it? One last initiative that we are going to try in this forthcoming Kumbh is our communication. The challenge of communications is our regular our RF communication is it cannot use the data and pictures. Whereas 4G and 5G will provide very good solutions, but in Kumbh-like situation, the whole network gets overwhelmed. And even if we have whitelisting or priority government numbers, we have seen in Kumbh, for example, in Allahabad, that it still cripples down. So how do we solve this problem? And our ADG PCIT as well as Director Police Wireless have come up with this solution, and 4G and 5G service providers have kind of agreed. We will put server at their end, and we would prioritize our communication. We'll create a kind of a small pipe in which only our communication will happen. We have theoretical conceptualization has been done, and we propose to do it this month in IPL match where there is a high density, and then also experiment with it in Pandharpur and Ganpati so that we are ready before Kumbh. So all these things that I have mentioned are small incremental changes which we can bring in. But I am very sure the technology and experts can bring in quantum jumps that can be done. So I think if we keep on creating these small incremental changes, and we are ready and in touch with the technology leaders, we would also be able to ride on some of the quantum jumps that are possible. So I would like to end it with this. I think in terms of governance, what citizens want is transparent, efficient, judicious and equitable way of dealing with their problems. Now, doing this in efficient and effective manner is possible through digital devices, but equity and integrity part of it, probably that is where human in loop is still required, and that is the role of the senior officers. We have to provide that. But if we can provide that technical solution and human in loop solution, then probably we would be able to address the grievances of citizens or their priorities and create possibilities and instrumentalities of for government where their mandate is well executed and their resources are put to good use, and in turn we create an outcome which can be presented as a outcome acceptable to citizens at large. With this, I would thank the organizers and take your leave. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.
Thank you, sir, for that important perspective. Our next speaker chairs the Capacity Building Commission, the institution at the heart of transforming how India's civil services learn, adapt, and lead in the rapidly evolving world. There is perhaps no better voice to speak about. I once again would like to thank Honorable Chief Minister, sir, for joining us. There is perhaps no better voice to speak about governance in a changing world than someone who is actively building in the capacity to meet that change. I am delighted to invite Srimati Radha Chauhan, Chairperson, Capacity Building Commission, to deliver her address.
Namaskar. Extremely thrilled to be here and very thankful to Radha and her state for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. And actually I got more energized after the cultural program that we witnessed. So I begin with a claim and a disclaimer that this presentation is human-made, but at the same time, I started by, I'm a recently inducted AI enthusiast. So I started 10 or 12 prompts across many AI tools, fed this topic, said what should the Capacity Building Commission be looking at. A lot of things came up. But I realized whatever I wanted to share here, as both as someone who has seen digital governance since 2006, in some role or the other I've been fortunate to be part of the whole transformational journey India has had to make to reach where we are today. And somehow in that space of information and knowledge and data that AI has been fed in the past 5 or 6 years, what I wanted to say had to have the human in the loop, me there, to bring out what I share with you today. We are talking about a huge amount of individual capacities in the AI diffused ecosystem that we had started creating, especially when I speak from the Capacity Building Commission point of view. Mission Karmyogi 5 years back started, and today, as the Honorable Chief Minister mentioned, a huge number of learners, voluntary learners, not mandated, in the state have gone through an AI course, equipped themselves. So we have individual public servants in your ecosystem, in the governance system, being made capable as we speak, and at a pace which is very encouraging and increasingly picking up speed. So when you look at the individual capacities that you create to operate, to function in an AI system, the question is that organizational capacity there for absorbing, for adopting, for adapting to the skills, to the way of functioning that we are creating in the individuals. Therefore, I thought I'll peg that question. I don't have many answers, but I will certainly share some of my thoughts on the challenges that we have and the opportunities that we must look at and build upon it immediately without losing any time. So how do you move the civil service from individual competency, which we are currently anyway running that race, to the enterprise level maturity? Do we have that institutional capacity to utilize the efficiency, utilize the enhancement of quality of citizen services that we would be delivering in the most optimal way, is a question that I thought I will bring here. And this is something that Capacity Building Commission is also moving on to now tackle. Now that is just to set the context. If you look at the numbers, that's a huge number. Nowhere, anywhere in the globe would you see that kind of number. On the IGOT, on the online portal, you have 1.64 crores of officials, public servants that are there, the courses completed. I think beyond a point, the numbers are just numbers. But this clearly tells you the kind of capacities that we have been able to bring onto, making them accessible anytime, anywhere for any public servant to equip himself or herself with the capacities that are needed in a digital governance, rapidly changing ecosystem. Now, we had from the 2nd of April to 8th of April, the Honorable Prime Minister of India inaugurated our Sadhana Saptah, which was again a full week of intensive learning. And you can see the kind of numbers that, again, during that 1 week, participated in the whole course of learning, and the courses on the AI were the maximally favorite ones, and more than 40 lakh officials across had partaken of the courses. And I'm very delighted to also share with you that for the first time, we were able to connect with the frontline workers, the police constables, the Anganwadi worker, the ASHA worker, the Panchayat secretaries. They were all onboarded and given a very basic AI induction course as part of the Connect program. And around 70% of the targeted audience was able to come on board and take these courses. Now that is Maharashtra, your state for you. And I'm sure there were a lot of mention of the Sadhana Saptah and how Maharashtra had been one of the front runners. It has always been a front runner. And you can see during the Sadhana Saptah, the number of courses your officials were able to complete, and especially the AI and the emerging technology has been a favorite one. Now that is the context in which we are talking. So you have created the capacities. Now what? Have you given them the ecosystem to actually operate those skills in a way that is more efficient, in a way that is more inclusive, in a way that is more equitable? I then take you back to the rule to the role-based capacity building. The whole shift from the rule to role is again a technology-driven, technology-focused, dynamic way of looking at how government functions. When you look at rule-based, the way we were operating for the past 30 40 odd years was static, was one time rule defining. Once you entered the service, this is what your rule is going to be, this is what your function is going to be, and this is how you're going to be promoted. All of it was less dynamic, more static. Now, when we said role-based, it was almost aligned with the whole pace and momentum, the disruptive momentum of a technology that is constantly changing. So when you're talking about a role-based competency movement that we have all created and have been able to achieve, we are looking at the missing link. Now, I just picked up the Oxford Insights Global Readiness Ranking of Governments, and it had about 12, 13 attributes on a weighted scale based on which India is ranked 27th globally on the government readiness. What is the missing link? The missing link is the individual capability. Is that matched by the organizational maturity for absorbing? So therefore, the process native ecosystem of governance will not be able to absorb the skilled officials that you and I are creating and are encouraging in the new system. Where are the gaps? I recently attended the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation's Data Harmonization National Workshop. We had in a panel 12 states that came up and that said, we have our own data policy, we have our own governance standards, metadata standards. Every state had its own set of standards and the way they would be operating on the data for their decision making and the other processes. Now, within the state, when we asked questions during the harmonization workshop, you again realize the police had a separate one. The food and distribution, civil distributions again had a separate independent way of looking at how to interpret a state policy. So you have a state policy, you have a departmental interpretation of each of those state policies. Therefore, the policies, the interpretation depended on individual silo maturity of the department and more so the departmental leadership, which makes it a very personalized orchestration of the policy when it comes to operational interpretation in the workspace. So you're looking at a lot of fragmentational risk that you bring in when you're looking at an ecosystem that is fully diffused of artificial intelligence, which is looking at cross-connecting a lot of data sets being currently held in siloed way. You have Government of India's governance guidelines, AI governance guidelines, AI competency framework. So actually the Oxford Insight says India is 100% given marks for the policy framework. We have all the policies that we require. I think the gap is going to be how we interpret and create an architecture that is across the systems, across the state departments, and across the states for the country to operate a fully efficient AI-driven system. So therefore, the whole intent of GAD becoming an HR manager, which means ultimately the right person is occupying the right role in a governance system so that it delivers better citizen-centric services, is going to be highly adversely impacted unless and until we solve the bigger institutional capacity building. Therefore, what would one think can be something that one should work on? Here I'm speaking from my experience of being the founding CEO of the government e-marketplace. Now, procurement was very siloed. Procurement in government was absolutely every individual's leading the procurement decisions. And everyone interpreted the one GFR in so many different creative ways that you wondered at whether you should stop the creativity or you should let them have that creativity space in the procurement system. But then when we created GEM, the decision making was embedded, automated. The policies compliance was automated in the digital space. The potential of a digital system to absorb an interpretation that is nationally accepted, to interpret the policy and orchestrate it in a way that the embedding of the AI compliance is part of every DNA of every decision-making system. I think that is basically the requirement as of today. So that the shadow AI, this is also a concept that I learned, where you have individuals who have enormous AI capacities. In Government of India, we had some of the departments where parliamentary questions, drafting of cabinet notes was actually put onto an AI tool, and it was then cut and paste onto a note that was submitted. Then we realized the danger of doing this. But you are creating skills, you're creating capacities in individuals to create drafts, create notes, decision, data analysis through AI tools. But have you given them the right set of guardrails? Have you established accountability matrix? Have we said which function and which role will be able to access initially the data, who is responsible for a data that hasn't been examined for its bias, its illusions, its hallucinations? All of that need to be part of our enabling ecosystem, which to a great extent needs to be automated so that the interpretational risk across agencies does not take away the efficiency and transparency that we look to AI for providing. Therefore, I think the pivot, the maturity pivot of the organizational capacity that we are looking at is the AI integration treated as just an added layer of decision making? It wouldn't work. Therefore, are you going to embed it in the whole processes, in the functioning of the departments and across the departments as a whole, is the question that we need to tackle right now. The policy interpretation I already shared with you. The guardrails that are needed. Who can audit? How capacitated is the person who's going to audit and take the responsibility? Who can decide on whether that audit risk has been clearly brought out or not? Who are the disclaimers and the claimers in a particular government decision-making system? Do we create a new role, like we created Chief Information Officer, Chief Security Officer? Do we need to create a new role, and what should that responsibility be of such a role is something that we all have to reflect upon. As I said, the system vision is something that has yet not emerged. Like the DGP said, he has initiated a lot of initiatives that is going to explore how AI can be better utilized. Similarly, I am sure every department on its own is running a lot of pilots, is running a lot of initiatives that it thinks will scale up. Recently, I think 9 of the big fours and 5 of the research institutions came out with one single understanding of how AI has been adopted by large-scale organizations. And their conclusion was that technology adoption was the easier one. It is the organizational adoption of AI, how it is infused in the system, how it is operated upon by the human in the loop, is where most of them failed and only were able to utilize not more than 30% of what AI could have actually delivered. I think this should inform us in every step that you and I as public servants take in the way forward of how to use AI, the capacities that we are so encouragingly, happily creating. Are we going to give them the space that they need to actually deliver on all that it is capable of delivering? So I'm going to leave you with the last line for my presentation. The diffusion will only happen when you have an enterprise level orchestration, and the leaders in this room, in this conversation that we are having, you are going to be the pivot that's going to make this change happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those thoughtful reflections on building institutions fit for the future. Our next speaker has been at the very heart of India's transformation story. From Aadhaar to digital public infrastructure to making India a globally competitive economy, if India has a digital spine, he helped design it. It is a distinct honor to welcome Shri Amitabh Kant, former CEO, Niti Aayog.
Chief Secretary and my distinguished panelists. Basically, there are three things happening in the world. One is that the period of peace and stability post-World War II has come to an end, and we are seeing conflicts which are impacting food, fuel, and fertilizer. Global value chains are completely broken down, which had enabled many countries like China, Korea, in recent times, in earlier times, Japan to grow. But this is also a period of great rise of productivity, and probably the biggest era in the rise of productivity because of data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And I've tried to pin down some technological issues which can enable Maharashtra to leapfrog. I analyzed the size and scale of Maharashtra, and if you look at it, it's exactly the same area, geographical area is exactly the same as, virtually the same as Japan. Its population is virtually the same as Japan. But it's if you look at the GDP, Japan's GDP is 4.6 trillion, same scale, same size, same population. GDP is 4.6 trillion. Maharashtra is 450 billion, and the per capita income of Japan is 37,000. Maharashtra is 3,336. So if India is to grow, Maharashtra's both GDP and per capita income has to rise very substantially. If India is to become a Viksit Bharat from a 4 trillion to a 30+ trillion economy, Maharashtra has to be the key driver of growth. If you look at, if you grow at from about 4.4 trillion, if you grow at about 6%, and Maharashtra in the last 15 years has grown at 6%. In the last 3-4 years, it's grown at 8%, but if you look at 15 years, it's grown at 6%. If you continue to grow at 6%, in 2047, you will be a $1.6 trillion economy. But if you grow at 10%, you will be close to a $4.4 trillion economy. That's the compounding power of growth. But your per capita income would have risen from 3,300 to almost close to 30,000. That is in real US dollar terms. That will be the impact of growth. For if Maharashtra grows, you would have transformed every single individual in Maharashtra, and therefore this compounding power of growth is enormous, and Maharashtra needs to grow not at 6% but at 10%. And only 3 countries in the world post-World War II, Japan, later Korea, and in recent times China, have grown at that rate. All other countries got caught in the middle income trap. 108 countries have got caught in the middle income trap. And these 3 countries have grown by merely using only using technology to leapfrog. So if the history of these 3 countries, you look at it, they use technology to leapfrog, and that's critical. I also feel that there is a need for a very major structural reform in Maharashtra, because if you look at your share of agriculture in your GDP, it's 5.4%, but the share of people employed in agriculture is 41.6%. Very high employment of people in agriculture, low paid jobs, whereas if you look at Japan, just 3% population is dependent on agriculture. In South Korea, it's just 5%. And that is the reason why your per capita income is low. Countries, their per capita income and their GDP grows when they industrialize. It grows when they grow in services. They grow when they urbanize. And therefore, it's very critical to take population out of agriculture. At 41.6%, Maharashtra's GDP will always remain low. And you should benchmark yourself not against other Indian states, but against other leading countries of the world, because Maharashtra is India's foremost state. This opportunity of being led by a dynamic chief minister, you'll never get again. And therefore, I'm giving you this, that it's very important to raise this per capita income. I'm also a great believer that you can't grow without huge focus on physical quality of life index, human development index. And if you look at schooling, anemia, hospital beds, and compare it to other countries, there's a massive need for improvement. And my belief is that in all these areas, governance is the binding constraint. And only technology can enable you to bridge the gap. And with my own experience across these sectors in the aspirational district program was that if you use real-time data, if you start using real-time data, putting out the ranking and putting it in public domain and making districts compete and based on outcomes, define your outcomes and where you want to take your districts, put that data in public domain, make them compete, you'll see a marked improvement in outcomes, and you'll see a sudden jump in, because you'll be naming and shaming, you'll be putting out data in public domain, and there's no better way than very good monitoring, very good putting out of data and putting it in public domain, so that every collector knows where he stands, and every public elected representative will know whether his district is going up or going down. So I am a believer that technology can help you to progress. The second point I want to make is that Maharashtra is the only state in India which has over 500 ITIs. No other state has that. It is the only state in India which has 60% population under 35. And there's a vast number of people working in the informal sector. So you have the platform, you have the talent, and you can actually lead India's skilling, completely transform Maharashtra in skilling, and that is critical. So my view is that you need to upgrade all your 500 ITIs with AI labs. You have to put manufacturing CNC machines, AR, VR training, use ITIs to really drive AI, manufacturing CNC and AI, VR training, and partner with big companies. All of them are housed here, TCS, Infosys, L&T, to design curricula, and every ITI graduate should leave with a NASSCOM certified AI fundamental badge and a certificate, and they should then launch close to about, you initiate a Maharashtra AI Fellows program where you launch 50,000 annual AI upskilling fellowship, and these fellows should then return to their districts to train a vast number of people, make the entire Maharashtra state AI literate, using complete Maharashtra state as AI literate, using the power of your 500 ITIs, really drive this as a mission, and then you build a state-owned app in Marathi, voice first, office capable. It should be completely voice first, office capable, should be workable on a 4,000 rupees phone. Make it mandatory for all ITI students and make it open to every single citizen of Maharashtra to really drive AI learning platform across the state. My view is that also use, because Maharashtra has all these companies, mandate every company with 500 employees to offer AI apprenticeship to IT students. The other day I had visited the Atlas University, which is, Maharashtra is the only state which has a skilling university. You have a skilling university act, and Atlas University I went to see, and I was really impressed with the energy and dynamism there. So my view is that you should have 36 e-skilling spokes across every district, co-located with the existing polytechnic, and delivering really Atlas curriculum with very high-speed fiber, and rural students should be able to access the same faculty. The energy there was so vibrant, and they're doing courses across AI, machine learning, data, robotics, all of them. The rural student should be able to access the same faculty, same credentials, and the same job pipeline as the peers, and this can have a huge, dramatic impact across Maharashtra. The third point I want to make is that Maharashtra is actually the data center of India. Many people do not realize it because everybody is talking about Vizag these days, you know, with Microsoft and Google announcing it. But if you look at the data which I was analyzing, Maharashtra is really India's digital infrastructure backup center. 26% of India's data center market share is in Maharashtra. 54% of Maharashtra's share of national data center capacity. And actually, Amazon has invested hugely in the state. So there is a massive opportunity to make Maharashtra as India's data center capital. And my view is that Mumbai and Pune should be declared as AI corridor. You should do a green data center mandating by 2028, require all new data centers above 10 megawatt to source 50% of the power from renewable. Push for tier 2 cities, Nasik, Nagpur, Aurangabad, designate them as data center economic zones with pre-allocated 100-acre parcels, single window clearance in 30 days, and subsidize power at a massive rate, and push for a Maharashtra sovereign AI cloud. Build a state-owned AI cloud compute with minimum of 5,000 GPUs for startups, universities, and implement a subsidized rate for them. This will really push it in a very big way. And to my mind, push for submarine cable landing hub in Maharashtra. Commission 3 more cable landing stations by 2028 with Alibag, Ratnagiri, and Navi Mumbai, making Maharashtra the undisputed internet gateway to Middle East, East Africa, and Europe. You will never get this opportunity again. If you are able to do this, Maharashtra will suddenly leapfrog with this in a big way. The third is because India is a major importer of fossil fuel. Our energy independence is critical. And therefore, my view is that Maharashtra's clean energy, I've seen your new policy, which talks about 100 gigawatt by 2036 and storage of 100 gigawatt per day. The execution is very critical, but my belief is that there should be increased ambition to about 150 gigawatt within the next decade. There's a challenge that there is a huge amount of curtailment of renewable energy. It remains high because clean power which is being generated is being wasted in Maharashtra because you are not able to evacuate it. So you need to move with speed on project level execution to modernize grid infrastructure and push for battery energy storage in a very big way. Also move for pump hydro, have at least 10 pump hydro storage so that you can have 24/7 clean energy in the state and make Maharashtra the center for clean energy, drive renewables, drive wind, drive offshore wind, drive pump storage, which is really, really critical for Maharashtra. And I've been a great believer that India can become the cheapest manufacturer of green hydrogen. You can drive it down in a very big way. No other state has the opportunity which Maharashtra has of using renewable to crack water and produce green hydrogen, which can then get into manufacturing in Maharashtra and then can become make Maharashtra the cheapest exporter of ammonia, which is green hydrogen in its liquid form, to the rest of the world. The government of India has, through the Shanti Bill, announced the move for small modular reactors. There's a huge opportunity of Maharashtra again becoming the champion in this sector, because if you look at the 220 megawatt Bharat SMR and 55 megawatt SMR lead units, they are all proposed at Tarapur. This gives Maharashtra a very natural head. So you need to identify clusters where you need clean power. You need to drive the usage of small modular reactor for steel, chemicals, refineries, data center. All of them are based in Maharashtra. And you need to map local manufacturing capability, because the small modular reactors, and this is going to be the next phase of growth. Green hydrogen, renewables, wind, small modular will be the next big era of growth for India. And therefore, mapping local manufacturing, small modular reactors will require control systems, pumps, walls, pressure engineering. That is what Maharashtra needs to push for. And push for land cooling water, grid evacuation. All this will enable Maharashtra to become the center of the cutting edge technologies of tomorrow in a very big way. I also wanted to highlight the need for critical minerals, because one of the main reasons why we have become a very major importer is because we do not have processing technology. All of it is getting imported from China, and there is a huge, there cannot be India has built up a huge import dependence on China in this area. And what Maharashtra needs to build, now that the government has announced a national critical minerals policy, Maharashtra needs to take advantage of it on account of its unique advantages and building up a very big hub for critical mineral processing. No other state has both the private sector, the technology, and the will to become the critical mineral processing driver of growth in India. I also wanted to say that there is one of the key reasons why the Startup India movements succeeded in India was because we started a fund of funds where venture capital could do all the due diligence. When we started the Startup India movement, there were just 300 startups. Today, there are 200,000 startups. This is simply because the fund of fund could fund venture funds. And 1/4 of the risk was taken by the fund of funds. 3/4 of the money came from venture funds. So Maharashtra needs to start a fund of funds for deep techs in a very big way across semiconductors, biotech, AI quantum, and what you will see is a lot of private sector fund will then flow into these areas, and all this risk taking will be done by venture capital. But what you will do is you will build up about 500 to 1,000 new startups in Maharashtra with very high quality jobs, and deep tech will then become the driver of Maharashtra with a fund of funds. And this is critical to build up the ecosystem for cutting edge technologies in Maharashtra. That will enable Maharashtra to really move into the top in cutting edge areas of growth. I also wanted to highlight, I'm a great believer that India must make a very, very big shift towards electric mobility. There are a lot of deaths taking place in Maharashtra because of pollution. There's very poor air quality challenges in Maharashtra. The EV market is growing I analyzed the data, the EV market is growing, but it's growing very slowly. Pick up your top 10 cities and implement EV in a very big way. And my view is that by 27 beginning, all your two-wheelers, three-wheelers your cities, these top 10 cities should only have electric vehicles, no fossil fuel, no combustion vehicles, and in 5-year mandate pushed for buses and four-wheelers and trucks, all of them to go electric. Maharashtra should be the #1 champion of electric mobility in India, because all the manufacturing companies are here. You make India the center for electric vehicle manufacturing, and then you make Maharashtra the exporter of all the electric vehicles from here. So phase out two-wheelers, three-wheelers, phase out buses over a period of time. The Prime Minister has pushed for e-trucks. Use that policy to drive all your lorries and trucks into electric vehicles, and therefore this would require you to build up a massive charging infrastructure, link it up to renewable energy, building up the manufacturing and supply chain, but charging will have to be the key. This has to be driven as a very major mission for Maharashtra to have entire mobility driven over a period of time, but then you will become a major manufacturing center for electric vehicles for across the world. The last point I want to make is, which I am a great believer in, I had worked with your Chief Minister very closely when we did the Shindra Bitkin, where now Toyota, JSW, the whole Shindra Bitkin is a cutting edge area of growth. It's manufacturing-led urbanization. Same thing you're planning to do in Dighi. You don't need one Shindra Bitkin city. It's a completely new city backed by manufacturing, which we did when I was CEO of Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. You need to create 10 more large cities planned like Singapore, exactly like Singapore, which are manufacturing-led, with recycling of water, recycling of waste, with walking areas, and with cycling and greenery, everything. And you will end up creating a vast number of jobs. You will then become the manufacturing center for the rest of the world. But this would require you to do municipal reforms in a very big way, use data-driven governance, and very, very smart infrastructure of tomorrow. But urbanization is the key to Maharashtra's growth to become a major, to grow at 10%, urbanization, electric mobility, clean energy will be the next era of growth. And this, to my mind, all this would require very, very bold reforms. This would require governance to be very predictable. And there, in all these areas, you would require technology to leapfrog and execution to be very, very relentless and ruthless. Thank you. I'm a great believer in Maharashtra, and I really think the only cutting-edge areas of growth with technology as the driver will make Maharashtra reach the scale to which Japan reached post-World War II. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir, for that compelling vision for Maharashtra. For our final address, we turn to a leader who oversees the entire administrative machinery of Maharashtra, steering governance across one of India's most dynamic and consequential states, at a moment when that machinery is being reimagined for the digital era. I have the honor of inviting Chief Secretary of Maharashtra, Shri Rajesh Agarwal, sir, to address us.
Yeah, thank you, Amitabh sir, for a crisp and big picture kind of talk, and but also showing us the nuts and bolts of how to do it. And earlier we listened to CM Saab also in the Prangan on AI and the changing nature of jobs. So it was interesting to listen to Radha also on capacity building, and we have been working with her and her team on these issues. It's always a pleasure to work with and listen to Date Saab. So he's trying to transform Maharashtra police with technology, but with also a lot of sensitivity. Vivek is an old friend, and many people in this room may not know it, but he's one of the main architects of Aadhaar movement in the country. And now the first sovereign AI Servam, he and his team have developed, and I have worked with him earlier also in disability department and using their technology also there also. So usually on technology I speak extempore, and I listen to all these speeches, and I thought I will cover something which is not covered. I will start with a bit of history, then go to technology, and then philosophy. If we have to understand how technology will evolve, we need to know how humans evolved, how biology evolved over millions of years. In 1970s, a monkey, a chimp called Vasho, stunned the world. She was taught sign language. She learned about 200 sign language words, and she could actually lie, joke, curse, create new words. And then she taught her son the sign language. The humans did not teach her son the sign language. She taught. So she could pass on culture. So it's like a bridge between apes and human consciousness. The same bridge, we are now trying to build a new bridge to a new consciousness. So about 6 million years ago, a branching out happened in great apes. About 3 million years ago, some apes started walking on their feet. This was epic moment. When animals started walking on 2 feet, the hands became free. The hands became dexterous. We got opposable thumbs. We could make tools. Somewhere on the way, the migration started. We learned how to have controlled fire. We started cooking meat, earlier pit cooking. Then somewhere along the way, maybe 1 lakh years ago, larynx dropped because we were walking straight. A gene mutation happened, FOXP2. We developed vocal cords. So culture started emerging. Then we started clay pottery. We could boil water on the fire in clay pots. So cooking became cuisine. It changed our guts. We could harness wild grains and eat them by boiling them. So this changed our guts, this changed our stomach, and this changed our body. So language started emerging, intelligence started emerging. There's a debate which came first. So many people say language turbocharged intelligence, intelligence turbocharged language. Cities emerged, civilizations emerged, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Vedic civilization, and so on. So biological evolution has been slow, but steady and extremely efficient. So our brain evolved from 400 cc engine to 1400 cc engine. It uses only 30 watts. 86 billion neurons, 1 trillion synapses, but only 30 watts. So very different from today's, we talk of 5 layers of AI. The bottom 3 layers, the energy, the chips, the data centers. Our brain is incredibly, maybe a billion times more efficient than today's technology. Energy usage, compute, and storage, all 3. So technology still has to evolve. Now let's come to slight tech gurus. So I follow Elon Musk quite a bit. He's talking of, and he's the one who actually started OpenAI, and then ChatGPT evolved, and we all know AI, how it is today. He says that ultimately all audios and pixels will be generated. Ultimately every output of a computer is audio and pixels. Pixels is text, images, videos. So he says it will be generated, which basically means your apps on your phone will go. Typing is very inefficient. We don't type to each other, we talk to each other. So we should talk to our computers. We should talk to our phone. So we talk, and the computer or the phone talks back or gives us the pixels. So there are no apps in future, only you talk and there's an agentic AI in between. Then I follow Karpathy quite a bit. He is the one who actually, he was one of the co-founders of OpenAI, and he was the chief of Tesla Autopilot and all that stuff. He is the one who last year coined the term vibe coding. And he said the latest, hottest programming language is English. It's not Java or Python or anything. You just program in English and the computer does what you want it to do. So this year he said, no, vibe coding is outdated. It's the time of agentic engineering. So since morning you would have heard about agentic engineering and agents, and Radha ne to Vasudev bhi dikhaya, new kind of agent niche prangan mein. And he's talking of sensors, actuators, and logic. मैं हर कहानी में जरूर विष्णु जी या और किसी की जरूर सुनाता हूँ. तो सुदर्शन चक्कर is like Karpathy's sensor, actuator, logic. So Sudarshan Chakra has sensors, the divine sight, it has the divine knowledge, and it has a divine actuators. It can go and kill anyone. So our technology is evolving to that. Let me explain this concept by 2-3 other concepts. Machine in the man in the machine, and man-machine merger. I will stop at that. So machine in the man. I see many people wearing spectacles. So there's a machine in the man. So some wear hearing aids. Slightly advanced version is cochlear implants. So you bypass the cochlea, you just transmit signals into a transmitter embedded in the brain, and the brain interprets the data. So in that sense, our eyes and ears, they are just a pass-through mechanism. It's the brain which sees. It's the brain which hears. So that's the way it is going to evolve in the machines. Elon Musk is also talking about Neuralink, and I actually talked to a patient, I chatted with a patient. I was in Divankata earlier. So an American patient, the girl has received, she was totally paralyzed, and so Neuralink has embedded a chip in her brain. She just thinks and the things move physically or on the computer screen. So she just opened an account on Twitter, and then I also chatted with her on Twitter a little bit. And she just thinks and the tweet comes up, just gets automatically typed. Similarly, she can just think and move any robotic arm or anything which can feed her, and so on. So when we talk of machine in the man, we are talking of real this kind of stuff. Or nano engines which will go inside you and cure you. So machine in the man is going to be very different in very near future. So man in the machine, let us say we have drones which latch on to human brain or human bodies. So the machines can also latch on to human brain or human bodies. So it was very interesting one. Actually now machines, if you give a task to an AI, and if an AI cannot do it on its own, it actually goes to sites like TaskRabbit and others and gets humans to actually do that job. You don't even know. So that is like a man in the machine. And finally, the two at some point are going to merge. So you won't know which stops where. So the carbon and silicon ultimately are going to merge at some point, and it will be very indistinguishable kind of thing. So since we are in Mumbai, we must talk of Marathi saints. So Sant Tukaramचे अभंग आपण खूप वाचतो. So he said, देह देवाचे मंदिर, आत्माचे आत ईश्वर. So here we are moving on from intelligence to consciousness. So cosmic consciousness is in us, and we are in cosmic consciousness. And maybe the body, the intelligence and consciousness will work together in future. So maybe man, machine and gods will merge together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It is always a delight to listen to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been truly fortunate this afternoon. 5 remarkable individuals gave us their time, their expertise, and their vision. We now move on. May I now request Honorable Chief Secretary, sir, to kindly felicitate Shri Amitabh Kant, sir. I also request CS sir to kindly felicitate I also request CS sir to kindly felicitate Srimati Radha Chauhan ma'am. Thank you, sir. So now I request Secretary Electronics, IT and AI to felicitate Shri Sadanand Date, sir. Sir, I again request you to felicitate Dr. Vivek Raghavan. Thank you, sir. May I now request Srimati V. Radha Ma'am, Additional Chief Secretary GAD, to felicitate Honorable Chief Secretary, sir. Thank you, ma'am. To formally close today's proceedings, I invite Managing Director, Maharashtra Information Technology Corporation, Shri Sanjay Katkar sir, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Sri Devendra Fadnavis, has graced the occasion and clearly set the priority of the governance. I am thankful to him. As well, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Srimati Sunetra Pawar Madam, has shown her presence over here. I am equally thankful to her. Our Honorable Chief Secretary, who is a driving force behind this TechWari 2.0 and leading administrative machinery with enthusiasm, energy, and technology-enabled solutions. He has delivered a fantastic speech today, a short speech. I am thankful to him also. Sir, Honorable Director General of Police Sri Sadan Date sir has explained with data how technology can be used in policing and safety of citizens. I am thankful to you, sir. Honorable Amitabh Kant sir, who has shown new way to look at growth of Maharashtra and how Maharashtra can be a leader. Sir, I am thankful to you also. Honorable Radha Chauhan Madam, Chairman Capacity Building Commission of India, for extending her technology for betterment of employment for employees and officer, how it can be used. I am thankful to you also. Dr. Vivek Raghavan, who is the founder of Sarvam and has shown some fantastic AI solutions for daily life. I am equally thankful to him also. The way this TechWari has been organized, conducted, and going ahead, it's the leadership of Honorable Additional Chief Secretary Srimati V. Radha Madam, who used to be my collector in early 2000 years. So I am thankful to you also. I am thankful to all the dignified senior officers from All India services as well as state services. And with this, with the permission of Chair, I declare that this event is concluded. Thank you.
अच्छा मुझे एक बात बता